So I just moved, and there's a lot to do when you move, apparently. But the main thing is decorating. Obviously. The rotting siding can wait. So this week, we're going to be doing some sewing projects for around the house. Welcome to my channel. My name's Alora, and I normally make clothes with challenges, art-inspired sewing, and experimenting, and just seeing what happens. But I just moved, so we're going to do some house stuff as well. So we need some pillows for this couch that I took from my parents' house. I don't love it. It's not my first choice, but it was a good price. So we're going to make it work. So I need some curtains for this window right here, so people don't see me while I'm in my PJs in the middle of the night. And I need something to cover this. We're going to start with the easiest pillow you could possibly make. Probably. A fringed edge square pillow. So I wanted something in a dark chocolate brown, and I got this upholstery fabric on sale, which was a nice bonus. And took a pillow insert from a pillow I already had. Sorry, buddy. I came up with some measurements that seemed right at the time. I always end up going a little bit bigger if I'm not sure, because it's easier to bring things in than if you make it too small. Then I cut out a nice square for the front. For the back, I did a really easy envelope closure so you can take the pillowcase on and off, and I just really didn't want to deal with zippers today. Envelope pillowcases are super easy. It's basically just two parts a bit longer than half of the original measurement, so like they overlap. For the fringe, I measured how far I needed to sew from the edge. I started with 2 inches, ended up at 4 inches, and then having to bring it back out to 3.5 inches. I don't want to talk about it, okay? And then I sewed the front and back with wrong sides together. Super easy. Now, this is where the easiest pillowcase ever became the most annoying pillowcase ever. The fabric I got has this weird backing to it. It's almost like glued together. So the front looked like it had a nice weave that would be really easy to fray, but the back was like solid. So this took me forever. Normally, this should be pretty easy and quick. Just check your fabric a little more closely than I did. But it was on sale. Anyway, after hours of doing that, I decided to move on to our next pillow, which is a slightly harder pillow. I'm going to do this really simple patchwork one, inspired by these tiles, which I would love to install in my house one day, but for now it's just going to be a pillow. The first thing we need to do is make a pattern. It's easier just to draw out the whole thing and then use the pieces that I need. This pillow is the same size as the last one. I remeasured it, don't worry. For the lines, I basically just measured with my heart. I did what I thought looked best, which was being the width of the ruler. I'd rather not do a lot of math, okay? When I was at the fabric store, I was debating on what colors of fabric to buy for this, and I didn't end up buying anything. I went home and went through my stash, and I realized I had the basic colors that I wanted already. I tried different color combinations till I decided on this one. This is just cotton fabric here, and I gave it a really good ironing because it desperately needed it. I traced each of my pattern pieces onto the fabric and cut it out with a bit of seam allowance. I ironed the white fabric, I swear. You kind of have to think about how you're going to sew this together, otherwise you're going to run into trouble. The only trouble I ran into was the struggle of sewing a straight line. I don't know what it is, I even drew it out for myself. The seam allowance being whatever probably made it harder. Could be too much coffee. Lack of depth perception. No idea. Also, it's important to iron your seams as you go, so everything hopefully lays flat at the end. I did the same envelope enclosure thingy as well for this one. But this time I sewed right sides together and then just turned it inside out to reveal our lovely pillow. And shove that pillow insert in there. So I got this fabric from the thrift store for $2. If you're in the market for fabric, checking out thrift stores can be a really good way to get fabric at a good price because fabric can get expensive. But I saw this and it was close enough to what I had in mind for the cafe curtains. My windows are all different sizes, but this one measured 33 inches across and about 28 inches long from where the curtains would hang from. So I'm going to make each panel 20 inches wide based on the very exact calculations of 33 divided by 2, which is 16.5, and then just add some more on so it stays wavy when it's closed. So this fabric was pretty close to what I wanted, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted, which is fine. So I'm going to try to paint over the lines that are already on it. Like I really like the window pane look, which is why I got this fabric and what I was going for. So I'm just going to test it out on this little scrap of fabric and we'll go from there. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it. I think I like it, minus the parts where I added too much water, so I'm not going to add water because then it just spreads. But I kind of wanted that like watercolor, sketchy, like, I think adding the paint just adds a bit more visual interest. It's a little more like in your face. So I think I'm going to do that. But I'm going to eat first because I'm a little shaky and doing straight lines, shaky isn't good. So I'll be back. So to paint this, I'm using acrylic paint mixed with fabric painting medium. It's 2-to-1, and you just add heat once it's dry to make it more permanent. Keep in mind if you use this method, the paint does stiffen the fabric a bit. There are better methods for this, but this is very inexpensive. The point of this is for it to look painted. Let's not pretend it's something other than paint. So it's not going to be 100% perfect, but that's okay. That's the vibe we're going for. Once dry, I sewed the sides together and then folded over where the curtain rod would like insert into. Just kidding, I had to make it bigger. And I hemmed it. Oh wait, what are we gonna do at the bottom? I decided to paint the whole thing just solid green. I don't know, it was kind of the vibe I was going for, and it breaks up the lines. Even though you can see the lines under the paint, we're not going to talk about it. But I kind of like it because it ties in the top. I let them dry overnight, and I hung them up the next day. I was just using a curtain rod that was already here, that the old owners left behind. So we haven't really done too much with the kitchen so far, but I feel like these curtains add that color and pattern that this kitchen needs. Until we figure out what we want to do in here. It only cost me $2 in like a day to make them. Okay, but I already had the paint, so if you bought the paints as well, it would still be under $10, depending on what paint you get. So it's not a bad little project if you have some fabric that you don't like or just plain and boring and you want to jazz it up a bit. Doors for IKEA PAX units are kind of expensive, but IKEA curtains I already have are not. Now, I grew up in, on, and around IKEA. I used to go there for dinner on a regular basis. I can spot an IKEA product a mile away. Not sure if that's something to brag about, but whatever. Anyways, I wanted to make this curtain that was too short to hang in my living room a little more interesting, so I thought I would add some embroidery. I don't want to do anything too complicated, otherwise this will take me forever, and I wanted to do something sort of interesting along the edges, so I came up with this. I initially thought I wanted to do red, but I ended up going with the light blue. I thought this blue was really pretty with the off-white, and I have a lot of it, so that's a bonus. Then it was time to draw out my pattern. Everything here is 1 inch. The stars are 1 inch, and they are 1 inch apart. Now, because this was a large area, I brought out the embroidery rectangle. These are great, you can get them off Amazon in different sizes. Highly recommend. Now, embroidery really isn't that hard, it's just time consuming and kind of tedious, but it's just learning the basic stitches. And if embroidery is something you've been interested in learning or doing yourself, there are a ton of tutorials on YouTube that you can check out, which is how I learned how to do it. And this is just a really simple pattern using back stitching and single stitches. 2 days later, I was finished. I did say it was time consuming. You know, getting the sides off the embroidered rectangle can be a bit of a challenge. Now, see, I wanted to add fringe to the bottom of the curtain, but then I remembered I have cats, and one of them likes to eat everything. Not you, it's you, mister. I ended up sewing it onto the top in this like scallop type pattern, because when I had it straight it looked like bangs that were too short. I got out the screwdriver and attached the curtain rod to the shelf. And Lynn brushed it because it has seen some things, mainly the floor, and this. And our curtain was done. Don't worry, we're fixing the rotting side of the house. We discovered we actually have 3 layers of siding, which goes nicely with the 2 to 3 layers of drywall on the inside. Oh yes, returning to the fringed pillow, that I did not forget about. I've been working on this whole time. That I finally sort of finished, and this is as good as it's gonna get because I cannot do this anymore. Alright, we got some pillows. Finally. So I did buy some fabric that has some pattern because I feel like this room needs pattern and color. It's still kind of boring right now, but we got a good base. Pillow base. Whatever that means. But that fabric just got here, so that will be another video. So we accomplished the goals of making pillows, cafe curtains so the neighbors can't see me at night, and something to cover my shelving unit with. And with that, I will see you in the next video.